Hello, in this video we're going to start looking at how I've added some new skills to our MMO type game in Unreal Engine and the custom server. So as usual, the custom server is available on GitHub, so if you'd like you can check it out. It's not like a final product, so it's more for educational purposes, but if you'd like to check it out, feel free to do so. On this post, I've also showed all of the steps I needed to make in order to get it to this stage. So all of the things that you'll see in the demo shortly, you'd essentially be able to reproduce using these steps. Do bear in mind, I use some asset packs for the visual effects, so I focus specifically on the blueprints, on the logic behind it, and the visual effects. You can choose whatever assets you like. So that's kind of the motive behind there. So yeah, check that out if you're interested in how to reproduce it, and I'll begin with the demo. Okay, so with the server up and running in the background, I'll be able to start my game client. You can see it spins up the server to control the mobs, so I'll be able to log into my character. In the previous videos, we've created these implementations for the skills window and the action bar, so now I'm able to actually activate the skills when I drop it to the action bar. So now I'm starting to implement the client processing of it. So bear in mind, I haven't implemented a lot of validations yet, so there's still a lot of things to do here from both the client and the server side. But for example, I'm able to select my character and I'll click number 5, which will start doing some healing. So you can see now when my channeling begins, my character actually begins some channel cast animations. When the channeling ends, he does a cast attack animation, and you'll also see some actual heal effects taking place as well. So that's what happens when I click heal. I'm also able to cast some fireballs, so you can see I'm going to throw some fireballs at the bear. So bear in mind there's basically no validations that are in place, and also the monster hasn't got the AI to actually chase me yet, so that will be to come as well. So there's plenty of work to do, and this should work alongside my general combat. So if I spawn a sword, so hang on a second, so I'm going to create some items, and I'm going to spawn an item. So now I'm going to spawn a sword. So I just picked it up, so I'm going to click it, and I'm able to now attack the bear using my normal attack. I'm going to start casting a fireball as well. Obviously, I haven't added additional validations that I can't cast and attack at the same time. So you can see there's plenty of work to do. But that's kind of where I got to right now. So you can see the bear is attacking me, doing some damage, and I'm still able to heal. Interestingly, I didn't even add a validation that I can't heal above my max health. So plenty of work left to do, as you can see. But it's starting to look like a real game, so I can start running away. I can cast and do lots of interesting stuff. So lots more to come soon. But that's the demo at this stage. So perhaps I'll begin with the skill base. So we'll look at the skill definition for what I've created. And the skill base really is just a pure object type. So in Unreal Engine, we can create a new blueprint, which is of object types. And they're particularly useful to hold information for us. So that's what we're going to do here. And our actual skills will effectively be child classes of these base classes. So I'm going to create some new ones in the near future. So for example, you'll have a skill base, then you'll maybe have some passive skills or active skills or channeling skills, etc. For now, because I don't have too many skills, I've just got the one skill base, but it becomes quite easy to refactor as long as you don't have too many skills. So that's what I'm going to do in the near future. So let's first look inside skill base then. Okay, so the key things are that I have the skill definition. So the skill definition will have things like the name, description, cooldown, all of this useful things. At the moment, I'm not using them too much. but I will do obviously in the future. So even just for representing this information on the skill widget or the action widget, they'll be useful to give this information to the user. If you are implementing this using the UE client and server implementation, you can use these for additional validations and activations. At the moment, I'm actually processing this on the Java server, so it has a copy of this information there. So it's not mandatory for me to use them here. But it's obviously helpful to have them. So inside the skill, I'm always going to have the activating actor. So the actor who has the skill and actually activates it, right? So you need the reference to the object. The target, this is not always mandatory, but most skills will have a target, so it kind of makes sense to add it to the skill base. And then the icon, so I use that within, again, the skill widget, the action bar widget, to represent the skill when you drop it into those widgets. So I'm basically going to have some of these variables, which will be common between all of my skills. And I'm also going to have a new function to activate the skill, which really will act as an interface. So all my skills, you'll have the activate function, and we'll be able to call the parent as well as activate it from the child as well. So this is essentially going to be used as a refactored template function. So now we can have a look at the implementations for the actual fireball and the basic heal classes as well. Okay, so for example, inside the Fireball class, we can first click the class defaults, and you can see that we can override the parameters from skill-based. So for example, we can specify that the Fireball icon will be this one over here. We can populate the skill parameters as we like. Like I say, I'm not using this too much right now because I have it defined inside my Java server. But this is where you essentially can provide all of the Fireball specific information right over here. And then I'm also actually providing information about the Fireball itself. So these two parameters, they're basically part of the particle actor and the transform. So I'm essentially going to be spawning a fireball. So this is fireball specific information. So potentially I'll have projectile based skills in which, you know, the fireball can extend. But like I say, I didn't need that right now because I don't have that many skills, but it's something to think about. And you can see I'm now starting to activate the fireball skill, and before that I call the parent to activate and do whatever it needs to do before I process the actual fireball skill. So let's again just check what does the skill base activate function do. It basically asks the activating actor to start the attack cast animations. So at the moment I only have two skills and both of them have the same cast animations, so it's okay for me to refactor them like this. Not all skills will require the same animations, or maybe some of them don't need any animations at all. So you may want to, again, split this up in different ways. And all this does really is just set the Boolean on my actor to start cast attack animation. So again, this might change later on. I could potentially have cast animations defined on the skill class itself. If I want really custom animations to be defined, I could literally specify them inside my skill as well. And I grab my cast actor and say, you know, activate this montage or something. So these are perfectly valid options as well. Okay, so let's see. When we activate the fireball, what we want to first do is spawn the fireball component itself. So we do this via this custom function here, where I provide my activating actor, so in this case my player, the particle that I want to essentially spawn, which is going to be this fireball, and the transform offset to spawn it relative to the actor. So let's see what this function does. So you can see I grab myself the actor transform. I then essentially add the transform location position to that, and I apply the rotation vector to the location part as well. So basically I wanted to spawn the fireball just a little bit in front of the player, essentially not in the middle of the player. So that's what this one does, and it returns the spawned actor. Now the spawned actor is again this fireball, so let's have a quick peek into what the fireball is. And bear in mind, we're going to also lock onto the target actor as well. So here, this is provided by the asset pack. So this basically contains some art for the fireball and for the explosions and stuff. But importantly, its parent class is this projectile base. So let's have a quick peek into that. So you can see basically it's a sphere with a static mesh and this particle system. And the key that I want to look at is this projectile movement. So if you create your own fireball, for example, it might have some art associated to it. You might want to add this projectile movement component to it, which will then allow it to follow any target that you'd like. So essentially, it has this functionality to lock onto target. So I've created a function to lock onto, and then you provide a target actor. And you're able to use this projectile movement. First of all, you'll want to define the movement speed, and then set the projectile movement to homing target component set to this component by class. So you can see the target actor, you can get the component by class and then set that up, and just specify it to follow that target via this property is homing projectile. So hopefully that makes sense, but really it's just using the projectile component to follow a particular target. So the other thing that I wanted to also do is remove the collisions. So you can see that I'm just ignoring everything from this sphere component. And that's because I just simply want it to follow the target, even if there's some stuff in the way. I want it to ignore that. And what I've done instead is I've got this function to check that the target has reached. So it's basically grabbing my static mesh, and I check the world location, I check the target's world location, and I just check whether the difference between the two is within a certain threshold. And if it is, I'll want to essentially destroy this component, and I'll want to spawn the explosion as well. So that's kind of what I do. This is instead of having the collisions in place and then acting upon it. I've just done a little custom one instead because I want it to only reach this target actor. And if I go back to my fireball class, you can see that that's what's happening. So I spawn the actor relative to my activating actor, so my player. I grab the component, which could be of any class, but I know in this case it has to be the projectile base. So you'd have your own class here. And then I simply ask that to lock onto the target actor. And again, for that, you just need it to have this projectile movement component in place. And now we can have a look at the basic heal implementation as well. So this one's a little simpler, I guess. In a similar way, you also want to spawn something, but with a heal, it doesn't chase anything. And the way you spawn it is also a little bit different. So basically, this one should be spawned at the character location, and I want it to essentially follow the actor instead. And for that, you can create something called the child actor in Unreal Engine. So you can see here again, so I have the activate function, and it will call the parent class again. And what I want to do is spawn child actor for duration. So there's a function in Unreal to add child actor component, and I'm able to then set the child actor a class. And what I also wanted to do is just destroy it after a certain amount of time, because I don't want it to be permanently spawned. I want some heal effects to just show up for something like 1 second, and then I want it to ideally fade away, but in this case I just gonna destroy it. So let's have a look at how I achieve this. So the first thing I want to do is grab myself the transform from the bottom, so essentially the location at the bottom of the player, and I can do that via the actor bounds. So when I grab my actor's bounds, I have the box extent, and I'm just getting the Z location, which is basically the entire bounds, but I need half of it because my origin is at the center point. I just add a little bit extra padding essentially so that it's not right at the bottom but just slightly above. And I just add a bit of my transform in as well. So that's how I grab my transform relative to the bottom essentially. And then you can see I add the child actor component relative to the actor's bottom essentially. And I specify which actor to spawn. So this actor is defined in my basic heal. So you can see that if I open this up, it will be this aura effect healing essentially, right? So you can again spawn whatever actor you have that represents your healing effect, for example. So you can just replace that in. And again, that's defined for the basic heal. And yeah, that will effectively complete our healing effect, or the visual effects rather, for this heal skill. Now, the actual healing effect is processed on the backend server, and you can do that as you like. So, for example, add HP a certain amount, right? Okay, so just as a reminder how I activate the skill in the first place. So basically I have this action bar widget which contains all of the action bars here. So I have this input action mapping so that when I click a particular button, so input action 1 for example, I grab the reference of action 1, I grab the skill base, so this is the object that we looked at, and you can see it has the skill structure here. And what it will actually do is basically send a request to activate the skill based on the skill name and essentially the target. So the one that activates it is essentially self, and I just need to get the target. So I grab the target via the actions component, which basically all my players will have. So each player will have an actions component, so you can see it's over here. And inside the actions component, I basically have the select target function, which simply has a reference to the target that I have selected, which is like an actor. And that actor contains the ID for that actor, so that's how I know what is the target essentially set to. Okay, if we go back to the skill base component, we had the activate function, which will start attack cast animations. So I just want to show what this Boolean is connected to. So basically inside the actor base blueprint, which is connected to my players, my proxy players and things like that, I've created a new Boolean for start cast attack. And this will essentially be used with the animation blueprint. So if I go into the viewport, might not actually be available here. Nope. So it will be actually connected with my players. So for example, if I go into, doesn't really matter which one, but let's just use this one. So I have my mesh. So you can see I have this animation class for my character, my players. And inside here, I have the event graph. So I've now added a new step to populate the action data, and you can see basically I care whether the character is channeling or starting the cast attack. And you can see that basically it's connected to update animation, so populate action data. I've just added it at the end here. And what that will do is grab the pawn owner, I cast it to the actor base blueprint. So all of my actors are spawned from the actor base blueprint. And then this is where I have access to these booleans for is channeling and start cast attack. And then I just simply promote them in the variables over here. So you can see both of them are there. And the pawn owner, so I basically have try get pawn owner, and only if it's valid do I actually process this. So that's how I get myself the pawn owner as well. Okay, and now if we go into the animation graph, we basically have the state machine, and inside the state machine I've just added two new states. So one of them is for the channeling state. So if I go inside here, all I do is play the combat cast ready. So again, I have some assets to play my cast animation sequence. And in order to go inside there, you basically just have to have this parameter is channeling to true, and to get out of it, you need is channeling to be false. And from both either the channeling state or the idle state, I can start cast attack animations. So in order to get into here, I need to have the boolean for start cast attack animation to be true. And to get out of it, I just need to almost essentially complete the animation for the combat cast attack. Okay, so you can see that I entered this state when my start cast attack boolean is true. So this one over here. But I never actually set it to false, right? So it didn't get set to false in my actions component or anywhere else yet. So how do I actually reset this? So I've done this from inside the animation sequence itself. And I've done this using the event notify. So you can add a new notify by right-clicking and click new notify, so you can give it a name. So I've called mine cast attack started, and you can see I've added it like halfway through the attack animation. So you can add it as you like. So I've added it here just where I expect the fireball, the effect, to have started, and you can do some really powerful, cool things using these notifies. But I've simply used it to reset that boolean at this stage. So if I go back to this animation blueprint, I've added a new graph which will be used to handle these notify events, and you can see that you can basically find your notify based on the name. So you can see it's just over here, so I've already implemented the function, and all it does is grab the pawn owner, and then I basically reset the start cast attack. So I basically come out of that state so that I don't have to keep playing the same attack animation. So that's what I did here. There's multiple ways of achieving this, by the way, so this is just one relatively simple way of doing it. Okay, so perhaps the last thing that we'll look at, which is perhaps a bit more complicated, is routing these things together. So this will very likely look different for people working with Unreal Engine servers. Because I'm using the custom server, I have to handle some of the replication myself. So I received the message, which contains the message type. So I'm processing 3 new message types. One of them is for initiate skill, another for start channeling, and the final one for stop channeling. Right, so what do I do in these instances? Well, each one will require me to find the relevant actor which is activating the skill, and I do this lookup using the actor ID. So I basically find all of the actors that are around me, and I find the one which has a matching actor ID. That's basically how I find it, and I then get the actions component from that actor. So at the moment it's only my players can cast these skills. I'm going to change this a bit later on, but I grab the actions component which will essentially handle initiate skill. So what does that do? Again, I need to find the target as well. So I have the actor which is starting the skill. I also need to find the target if there is one. So it doesn't have to have one actually, so it can be null. And then I have the skill map, which we looked at creating earlier. So again, the skill ID is the skill name at this stage. So I grab the skill object, so you can see here, skill base object, and I ask it to activate itself. So again, these skills will be fireball, basic heal. So I'm actually activating the child components activate function, not the skill base. So again, you can see it's used as this template function. And that's how I start the activation process, right? So I just pre-populate the necessary variables, and then I find the skill and I click activate. In order to start channeling, it's a little bit simpler. So again, I just want to find the actor that I'm activating the skill with. So find relevant actor. And when I found it, I just need to set the is channeling to true. And when I get the request for stop channeling, I'm going to set that to false as well. So in the future, not all skills will be interrupted by moving. So perhaps some skills I'll be able to channel and move. So these decisions will come from the server rather than the client. So that's why I have these requests. So I'll need to do some animation blending a bit later on to make sure that the feet are still moving if my character is moving, which is not the case at the moment. So perhaps create some blend spaces and things like that. So some things to change here, but this is how I do it at this stage. So there's lots more things to come here, but it should give you an idea on how to do this. Okay, so perhaps I'll finish off with the demo again while explaining some of the things in the background. So I'm gonna open up my character. So again, one of the things that we looked at before was adding these skills onto the action bar. I've now also mapped these skills to the skill object using the data table. So now I essentially, my actor, the actions component has these skills populated there. I'm able to select a target by clicking them. So for example, I can click my player. I can also click on the bear, and this sets the target. I can initiate the skill by clicking the skill icon. So input action 5 maps to the skill over here. This sends a request to the server to begin the skill. The server responds by first of all telling my actor to start channeling. So I receive that request. I then set is channeling to true on my actor blueprint. This is then replicated to the animation blueprint, and it then goes into the new channeling state where the animation sequence is played for channeling. Then after a short delay, the Java server, I think it's set to like 1 second, for example, it's defined by the skill. It then starts to activate the skill. So this will trigger several events. So one of them is to initialize the skill, and the other one is to stop channeling. So it sets the channeling to false. So it goes back to the idle state essentially. Initialize skill will do a few things. The first thing it will do is it will start the boolean for start cast animation. So you can see this one over here. And then the second one is it will activate the skill based on the skill definition. So if it's a fireball, it will spawn the fireball and set the target to whatever the target is. And the other one is it will lock onto it and throw the fireball away. So just like this. So it will just throw the fireball at the target. Bear in mind, like I say, there's pretty much no validations in place, so I can even heal the bear as well. So lots of things to do in the future. But that's basically what we have right now. So in the next episodes, I'm going to add a lot more validations. I'll actually build a more robust skill system. But it's sort of a framework, if you will, put together now that I can iterate and build upon. So that's it for this one, and see you next time. Thanks. Bye.